The following podcast is made up of various scraps of recycled audio recorded randomly over the last 20 years. Nothing within this episode should be considered current or up to date. Listener discretion is advised.
You know who you are? Steeven is my name. Even Steeven.
Will you say something, Steeven?
Steeven Orr Else Media.
Excuse me, who are you?
Sean Spencer. That is my partner, Dynasty. It is spelled S-H, comma to the top, Dynasty.
Comma to the top?
That's God's comma.
From a secret location deep within the hills of eastern Kansas, one man, armed only with a microphone, his voice, and an unnatural gift for hyperbole, brings you the most important podcast in all of human history. It's time to escape from the mundane, ladies and gentlemen. This is Steeven Orr Else. Hello and welcome to another hair-curling episode of Steeven Orr Else, the podcast in which I get to do whatever I damn well please. And whatever I damn well please, it really isn't all that much, to be honest. Not a lot. I'm your host. My name is Steeven, and today I want to try something here in this intro bit that does more than just fill time. See, I don't know if you noticed over those first two episodes, but there really wasn't much in the way of substance during this section. It was all just a bunch of me spouting off and again trying to fill time and pad out the length of the episode. I'm not going to apologize. I mean, this section needs to take up what? 5, 10% of the episode, right? Maybe. Well, if that's true, then that means it needs to be at least 2 to 3 minutes long, maybe even 5 minutes long. And frankly, if I don't have anything personal to say, then I'm just going to spend that time going on and on and on about nothing in particular. But no more, faithful listeners. From here on out, I'm going to do my very best to fill this space with deep philosophical topics or possibly even heated political debates. Now that we come down to it, maybe I'll give you some dark, introspective thoughts about life and my place within it. Today, however, I think I might get even more personal than that. I mean, really dig in deep and show y'all just what makes me tick. My hopes, my dreams, those little things in life that never fail to make me smile. But even more than that, I have this, almost uncontrollable need to talk about the fear, the terror that beats down on me each and every night. And to be honest, I'm not really sure where to start. I mean, there's this level of anxiety in me it's always there, vibrating just below the surface, and I have no idea why. It's like this overwhelming sense of dread and panic that every night forces me into the shower with a cheesecake where I huddle in the corner, eating and sobbing uncontrollably as the water rains down atop me. I hope you're prepared for that. I hope you're seated comfortably. I hope you have some kind of box full of facial tissues that you're going to need to use to capture the tears that will surely flow. Heck, you may even need a bucket, because that's how much you're going to cry, folks. Because it's a sad thing, getting a look inside my head and seeing exactly who I am. Oh my God, who's calling? Hold on, let me get this. Hello? Yeah? No? What do you mean? Now? Like now? All right. Bye. Well, crap. I got to apologize, folks, because it appears that we are out of time for this segment, which, yeah, that's too bad. Maybe next episode. Way back near the end of 1991, the three biggest names in comics, Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, and Jim Lee, feeling that Marvel Comics didn't quite compensate them the way that they deserved, well, they left the company and they took their talents elsewhere. But rather than go to work for another company, the three of them, along with Eric Larson, Mark Silvestri, Jim Valentino, and Whilce Portacio, well, they banded together and they started their own company, Image Comics. Not long after that, of course, each one of these creators soon launched their own books. Among them were Todd McFarlane's Spawn, Rob Liefeld's Youngblood, and Jim Lee's Wildcats. I was around at the time. I was working at a comic book store. I was a few years out of high school. Well, a couple years out of high school. And I was working at a comic book store. And I remember, these books coming out and how it was a freaking exciting time. It was just, I couldn't wait to unload those boxes and get a hold of some of these books. Because I was reading Spider-Man by Todd McFarlane. I was reading X-Force by Rob Liefeld. I was reading X-Men by Jim Lee. And as far as I was concerned at the time, at that moment in time, nobody could do it better than those three fellas. And to be able to read something brand new out of their brains, it was an exciting time. If you were around at the time, what can I say? It was exciting. So yeah, I've been feeling pretty nostalgic about that time lately. And so I've been kind of going back and trying to find these books and reading them and having a lot of fun with them. And because of that, today I want to talk about the first one that I could get my hands on, and that was Wildcats #1, which was published in August of 1992. It was written by Jim Lee and Brandon Choi. Pencils were by Jim Lee. Inks by Scott Williams. Colors by Joe Rosas. Letters by Michael Heisler. And the editor was Ruth Grice. So the issue opens on July 29th, 1980. A pair of scientists from the United States Antarctic Research Station called Zebra, they discover the remains of a Russian satellite. And among the wreckage, they find a silver ball floating above the ground. As one of them reaches for it, the woman we will later discover is Void, suddenly appears out of a ripple of energy. And she's like encased in metal. She's sleek and she's sexy and she's silver. And the only skin that's showing is her face. And she starts shouting at them. She's shouting at them about the orb. No, don't touch it. You cannot handle such power. It's not quite like that at all. I'm really doing it a disservice. Anyway, she shouts at him and she disappears. And then we jump to August 9th of 1992, and we're chilling at the International Operations Crisis Control Center in McLean, Virginia. Two men are there. They're monitoring and discussing an explosion that had just taken place in Georgetown. And then suddenly Void pops in. Bang! She appears in the room and then, disappears again. Pretty, almost not very exciting. These two guys are like, hey, look at this explosion. Whoa, look at that girl. Hey, where'd she go? I don't know, but she was encased in silver. That was that scene. So from there, we jump once again to August 8th. We don't jump again to August 8th, but we're jumping again. See, if you haven't picked it up yet, we're jumping around through time a lot in this book. And this jump is to August 8th, 1990. We're in New York City. A homeless man sleeps in an alley. Two men approach, and you know what? They want to beat him up just simply because he's homeless. But the homeless man, who we find out is Jacob Marlowe, purely on reflex, fires an energy blast from his hand, which actually surprises him more than it surprises the two thugs. Void suddenly appears, and she tells him, hey, guess what? You're an alien. And that's something that everybody's always happy to hear. She tells him that he's Lord Emp, EMP, from the planet Carib. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And you know what? Guess what? Lord Emp, homeless man who's actually an alien, you are destined for greater things. One more time jump, 2 years later, and we're actually in the present. August 8th, 1992. Jacob Marlowe, he's now the CEO of Halo Incorporated, a multi-billion-dollar company, which only goes to show you what you can do. You can start from rags and go straight up to riches as long as you have a time-jumping, sexy woman who's encased in silver. That's all you need. I've been looking for one for years, and so far, no luck. And so not only is Jacob the CEO of Halo Incorporated, he's also the leader of a team of powered individuals known as the WildC.A.T.s. And CAT is an acronym for Covert Action Teams. So we soon meet the WildC.A.T.s. Beyond Marlowe, there is Spartan, Maul, and Warblade. So this is a time in comics where super teams started to follow a particular template, okay? You had to have certain individuals within your team. First, of course, you had to have a team leader. And there were two options for this role back at this time when we were following this template. You could have the Cyclops or the Cable. On the WildC.A.T.s, they went with the Cyclops. Or in other words, the button-down, clean-cut, vanilla white boy leader, other than the grizzled old veteran who barks orders like a military sergeant drill guy thing. Anyway, for the WildC.A.T.s, this was Spartan. And you know, it's been a while since I've read these books, and they don't really explain his powers at all in this first issue. And I went online to just get kind of a summary of what his powers are. And you know what? I remembered something as I was reading through his powers. This was also a time when they didn't just have simple superpowers. You know, this guy can fly and he's strong. This guy can stick to walls. This girl can phase through walls. You know, no, they had to have extremely, extremely complicated powers. So you know what? I can't summarize what his powers are, so I'm not even going to get into it. We don't even really see him in action in this issue. Not really. Now, if we stick with the X-Men template for super teams, we're going to need a strong guy or the Colossus. For the WildC.A.T.s, this was Maul. The thing with Maul, however, he could grow in bulk, so he could be like a normal-looking dude, but then he could grow to look like the Hulk or as big as the Hulk. But the bigger and the bulkier he got, the stronger he got, but he also lost his intelligence as he grew. So it was kind of like Bruce Banner to the Hulk, I guess you could say. Next, if you're going to have a super team in the 90s, you need a Wolverine. And for the WildC.A.T.s, that was Warblade. And based on this issue alone, he's mostly encased in metal and his hands turn into blades like the T-2000 from Terminator 2. We're going to meet other members of the team later in the issue. These are the only folks we know so far. So back to the story. As Marlowe and the team are hanging out, Void tells them that they have to stop this thing called the Daemonite Cabal, who want to start something called Project Reunification. She doesn't really explain what any of this is, but in order to stop it, they need to find someone called the Gifted One who has the power of sight. Furthermore, they have to find her before the Cabal does. So a lot of confusing information right off the bat. So from here, we get to meet the Cabal, led by a very strange-looking dude named Hellspont. He and his agents, Pike, Providence, Hestia, and Devon, they're hanging out on the Behemoth, which is like, it's just a big submarine. And somebody thought it would look cool if it had wings on it. And I don't know, maybe it flies. It probably does. They didn't show that in this issue. But to me, a submarine with wings, a big giant submarine with wings, just seems silly. I mean, doesn't seem like it can maneuver in tight spots very well. But here we see it swimming through the Potomac. And I do have to mention here that when I was reading this, I had just finished watching all 3 of the Austin Powers movies, and I couldn't help get like a real Dr. Evil and his henchmen vibe, you know, as they were hanging out in their evil submarine. So anyway, we learned quickly that another dude that's with him, I didn't name him because it doesn't matter, he's a traitor, and they kill him, establishing that these folks mean business. Back to Marlowe and his team, they visit this creepy dude called the Gnome, who tells them the location of the Gifted One, which is Georgetown, but only after Marlowe promises to do him a favor in the future, which, you know, that was easy. Hey, can you tell us where this person is? Yeah, sure. Will you do me a favor later? Yeah, I can do that. Okay, they're in Georgetown. Awesome, thanks, high five. But of course, we find out that these two groups, Marlowe and his WildC.A.T.s, Hellspont and his Cabal, they're not the only ones looking for the Gifted One. We cut to a strip club in Georgetown called the Hot Spot. There's this dude there. He's going to be a Wildcat. We know he is. because he's on the cover. Anyway, he's called Grifter, and he's hanging out. He's the weapons guy. You know, if you're going to follow that super team template, you kind of need a weapons guy. And the weapons guy, you could even say Batman was the weapons guy. This is an unpowered fighter who uses guns, and he uses them well. So he's at the club, and his attention is quickly drawn to a dancer whose name is Voodoo. She's also going to be a member of the Wildcats. She's the babe, okay? So we're going through the template. She's the babe, because you always have to have a babe. Actually, you have to have at least two babes, and one of them has to be a badass like Psylocke. You know, not the Psylocke, the original Psylocke, but the Psylocke we got in the 90s X-Men when she turned into a ninja and was like all hot and stuff. So yeah, Voodoo is the babe. She's not the badass babe. The badass is going to come in later. Anyway, some dudes show up with the woman who Grifter spots as a Coda warrior, and the dudes go after Voodoo. When she looks at the two dudes, she sees aliens instead, and of course, you know, freaks out. I mean, I would. The Wildcats show up, fighting happens, but they don't win until Zealot shows up. She is the badass babe with swords. She is also a Coda warrior, whatever the heck that is. One of the bad dudes, who's this alien thing called a Daemonite, detonates a bomb and the club explodes, which is what we saw earlier in the issue when that really unexciting scene with the two dudes are like, hey, look, an explosion. That was this, okay? We go back to the Behemoth, and Hellspawn is watching all of this on a monitor, but he's not alone. Chilling on the Behemoth with him is his boy Belial. Belial is a mole, and he has infiltrated the American government by impersonating then Vice President Dan Quayle. Oh, boy. Now, don't get me wrong. I did actually rather enjoy this issue. The art, of course, was gorgeous. That is, you know, if you're into Jim Lee, if you aren't, then I'm sure the issue is quite ugly. But I actually really, really liked it. The story, however, the story just seems, it just seemed a bit overly complicated and yet very simplistic. First of all, the first issue introduces 20 or more characters. That just seems like a bit much. But more than that, we also need to be able to take hold of stuff like aliens, Daemonites, the Cabal, and the Coda Sisterhood. And that just seems like a lot to me. And yet, I still rather enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it quite a bit. But I feel like I remember the first time I read it, which was, you know, half of my life ago. I feel like I didn't quite understand what was going on, other than just cool people doing some cool looking things. And hey, that was Wildcats from 1992. Steeven Orr Else will return after these messages.
Today's episode has been brought to you by Benson's Boot Biscuits. In this fast-paced world when you're always on the move, wouldn't it be nice to bake yourself a warm, delicious snack without slowing down? Well, now with Benson's Boot Biscuits, you can do just that. Benson's patent-pending laboratory-tested system is a revolution in ergonomic baking footwear. Each pair of durable, rugged boots come with their very own convection heels that allow your own kinetic movement to bake yourself up a pair of savory biscuits in the time it takes to walk a mile. For only 12 easy payments of $39.99, you'll not only get our sturdy boots, you'll also receive a 3-year supply of Benson's famous biscuit mix. Choose from Cheddar Bay, sourdough, or buttermilk. But that's not all. Call within the next 7 seconds and we'll throw in a second pair of boots absolutely free. So call now at 1-800-555-5555. That's 1-800-555-5555. Benson's Boot Biscuits. Walk a mile in our boots, then butter those biscuits. From the makers of Swanson's Shoe Strudel.
And now, back to Steeven Orr Else. The only podcast whose host has nothing better to do on break than sit in his car and talk into his phone. I am, of course, said host. My name is Steeven, And great googly booglies, I am tired. So I don't know exactly when this episode's going to go out. I have made a decision that any night that I'm working, basically anytime, any day or night that I'm working at the second job, at least one of those breaks during that shift, I'm going to try to record something fun. And rather than just release, 3 to 4 episodes a week, I'm going to stick with 2 for now. And I think that the release schedule at this point is going to be Monday and Wednesday. But if I can record a bunch of them, then I can start banking them because I know that there's going to be a week at some point in the future in which I'm not going to be able to record jack crap. And so being able to record something in advance is the right thing to do. I told you I am just freaking tired. This is, again, I don't know when this episode is going to go out, but I am on night number 4 in a row of the second job. This is a Wednesday, so I worked Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. I'm working tonight, and then I work again tomorrow night. Now, the thing with that is that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and today, and Monday, Tuesday, today, and tomorrow, also working at the day job. So what that means is while I got to sleep in a bit on Sunday and spend some time with the family, left the house at 2 o'clock, worked until 10, came home around 10:20, was in bed by 11, woke up at about 5:30 in the morning, and then I'm not back again until about 10:20, 10:30. And that's what I've been doing Monday, Tuesday, and I'm doing it again today, and I get to do it again tomorrow. Now, the other downside to working a schedule such as this is that my girls are in bed when I go to work, and they're in bed when I come home from work. So I have not seen my little girls since Sunday. And again, it's Wednesday. And, they're funny because they're teenagers, right? So, I think while I know they miss me, but in the end, it's not going to, they're not going to, turn out to be bad children because their father is never around. Because I am around quite often. This doesn't happen very often. Working this many hours at the night job does not happen all that often. But what happens at a place like this is they hire a bunch of kids right out of school, kids going to college, and they realize that this is not what they want to do, and they leave. And so when they leave, that leaves a big void in the schedule. And I'm usually the last person standing who can work all those hours. So last night, I was starting to get really tired. I was crawling, man. I was not looking forward to the rest of the week. All I could tell myself was, I'm not going to see my kids until Friday. Haven't seen them since Sunday. Not going to see them till Friday. Simon, he's older. He's a junior. He's 16 years old. While he was asleep when I got home last night, he was awake when I got home the night before. So I've seen the boy. But the girls, on the other hand, I have not. But at one point last night, when all hope was lost, when I had decided to give in to the despair, I realized that tomorrow and Friday, they have no school because it's parent-teacher conferences. So because they have no school to go to tomorrow, the girls will stay awake, so I'll get to see them tonight. So that really helped push me through. And today, when I called home, at the end of my shift at the day job, called home, I asked, do any of the kids want to talk to me? Simon doesn't normally. He's a teenage boy. It's okay. It's cool. I'm happy that he still tells me he loves me, and he will even hug me once in a while. I think that's pretty awesome. So the first person that gets on the phone is Palin. She's my youngest. And I said, hey, do you remember me at all? Do you remember who I am? Playing up the whole, I haven't seen you in a few days thing. And she goes, I have no idea who you are. I said, I'm your father. And she says without hesitation, the refrigerator is my father. And I said, the refrigerator? And she says, the refrigerator feeds me. And I said, yes, it does. The refrigerator is pretty cool, isn't it? So that lifted my spirits. Not that I don't want to come across as, oh, woe is me. I'm not fit for life. You know what? I can turn most situations, turn any lemon into lemonade. I'm a fairly positive guy, but I'm tired. Just not getting a lot of sleep, so I'm a little sleep drunk. Another thing I wanted to talk about is so a couple of days ago, you will have heard episode, good Lord, some dude just ran a trailer up over a curb and about flipped it over. Crazy. Anyway, I don't know if that sound came across in the podcast, but if it did, you know what that was. I mean, he was probably doing a good 30 miles an hour. Anyway,
At the end was you. There's a path you take and a path not taken. The choice is up to you, my friend. Nights are long, but you might awake to a brand new life, brand new life, a brand new life around the bend.
okay, so last week, one of the listeners, John, commented over on Patreon and suggested throughout the names of a few comic books that he recommended I try out. And I tried one of them right away, and I want to talk about it here on the show. It's Paper Girls by Image Comics. I got the first trade through Hoopla, so I read it all on my phone. This is written by Brian K. Vaughan. The artist is Cliff Chiang. The colors were done by Matt Wilson, and the letters were done by Jared K. Fletcher. This was let's just talk about the look of the book, first of all, because it was freaking beautiful. I've been a fan of Cliff Chiang since I remember talking about him, I think, maybe I can't remember if I talked about him in the previous podcast or not, but I think he did Wonder Woman for a bit. He may have even done Green Arrow for a bit, but really love his art style. He's got kind of a, almost Darwin Cook type of art style. I don't know how you would describe that, but it's kind of clean and not a lot of nonsense going on there. And I love that. It's beautiful. And then you combine that with the colors by Matt Wilson. And I talked about colorists last week, but this is somebody I've never heard of, but just reading the book, he's just immediately leaped into one of my top colorists because it was almost 4-color. Color palette, from the old days. He did some shading and whatnot, but it was very simple. And because it was so simple, the artwork and the book and the panels just popped. They just practically reached out of the book and slapped me in the face and then gave me a hug because they just made me feel good. So huge props to Matt Wilson and then Cliff Chiang, the art team on that book, because it was freaking beautiful. Now, the book itself was a darn good read. I really enjoyed it, and I am definitely going to continue with the series, provided I could find all the trades. I don't know if it's still ongoing or not, but this is... it's called Paper Girls. It's about 4 preteens, about 12 years old, 4 girls in Ohio who deliver papers in a particular, I think, suburb of Cleveland, if I read that correctly. And it opens up on what they call Hell Night. It's the morning after Halloween in 1988. Steeven Orr Else will return after these messages. Are you looking for a podcast that dives into the very beginnings of the Man of Steel? Then check out the Superman Super Show. My name is Steeven, and along with Ed Moore, we're just a couple of guys separated by 1,000 miles of geography who like to read comics. Now, we don't claim to be experts on Superman or the golden age of comics, but we're on a mission to read every single Superman story from his earliest adventures, one comic book at a time. In each episode, we'll take you back to the golden age where Superman's journey began. From his first leaps over tall buildings to battling mad scientists and mobsters, we break down every story, sharing our thoughts, insights, and laughs along the way. New episodes drop every 2 weeks. So whether you're a longtime Superman fan or just curious about his roots, we invite you to join us on this incredible journey through comic book history. Find the Superman Super Show wherever you listen to podcasts and start exploring the golden age of Superman with us today.
Superman was bad. I mean, he was bad.
Hi, I'm Eric, host of the Long Box Review podcast. I love comic books so much that I started Longbox Review to celebrate my love for them and connect with others who share my passion. Each month, I critique the comics I've read and present other topics, such as spotlights on specific issues, my comics history, the Legion Project with Peter Rios, where we discuss the Legion of Superheroes, and so much more. Additionally, the Longbox Review podcast feed includes The Gutters, my audio journal, and Center Seat, my Star Trek podcast. The Longbox Review website also examines comic books outside of the podcast, such as the series 52, Justice, and others. Please join me as I celebrate nearly 50 years of comic book reading and over 15 years of podcasting. You can visit longboxreview.com for more information. And thanks for listening.
Hello, how are you? This is Sean Merrick from the podcast Worst Collection Ever, where myself and my wife, Jennifer Stansfield Merrick, talk about the weird, the funny, and absolutely insane comic books in our comic book collection. Are they good? Probably not, but we're going to have fun anyways. We took a little break, but now we're back with brand new episodes, so please check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, even check us out on YouTube, Angry Hero 79. You can subscribe, you can review, you can rate on there, and we love to hear from you. So check you then.
And now back to Steeven Orr Else. And so they're delivering papers the morning after Halloween, so on November 1st. And there's still some teenagers out who, at one point, the main character. And I'll tell you what, I didn't make any notes, so I can't remember anybody's names except for Mac and KJ. But the main character, Emily, I think her name was Emily, she runs into these 3 teenage boys who are giving her a hard time, and then the other 3 girls come in and help her, led by Mac, who is your basic cursing, smoking 12-year-old. You know, you see them everywhere. Well, not long after the 4 of them meet up and they go out to deliver their papers, and they're going to help each other, weird stuff starts happening. So what we got here is kind of a weird time travel story. It's like weird folks from the future come back in time, speaking a different language. A couple of them are dressed up like ninjas, but they are teenagers who are deformed, and I think someone makes a reference at some point in the book where they consider themselves Robin Hood, coming back to the past to steal from the past to help the future. And but then they are against, their enemies are the old timers, as they call them, so the grown-ups who speak some kind of weird version of English. And man, a helicopter's flying by. I don't know if you can hear that. That's a military copter, and it looks like it's got a red cross on it. So maybe that's a ambulance copter. Anyway, it's getting really hot in this truck, so I'm going to move things along. So the I think it was 8 issues maybe in the book, but at one point, all 4, the 3 of the girls are shot forward into 2016, where Emily, if that is her name, meets her future self, but also meets a clone of herself. And just, there's some tension there. KJ, one of the girls, doesn't go to 2016 with them, and they don't know where she is. Emily, before they go to 2016, is shot. And these two future teenagers who are deformed and dressed as ninjas, they take her forward into the future and use these bugs, like robo bugs, to heal her. And then she gets back with her friends, and the machine that they use to go through space and time blows up or something, shoots them into 2016. They find a message from KJ scrawled on her field hockey stick to go to fold number 4, which is a fold in time apparently. And there's all these old timers there who are just regular grown-ups. There's one old dude with like a beard, long white hair, who wears like pop culture type shirts. I think at one point he's wearing a Public Enemy shirt and whatnot. But the future dudes, the old timers, they ride like pterodactyls or pterodons or something, some kind of flying dinosaur thing. So these girls are now mixed up in all this. And at the end of the trade, they meet back up with their friend KJ. They go into the 4th fold. They end up somewhere. I don't know, they don't tell you where it is or what time it is, but it was just a really good book. I'm not doing it justice because it's so freaking hot in this truck. But it was a dang good read. And I want to thank John for recommending it to me because I'm recommending it to all y'all who like comics. Brian K. Vaughan, Cliff Chiang, Matt Wilson, Jared K. Fletcher, Paper Girls, Image Comics. Go read it.
Fish creep me out, especially if the fish in question happens to be wearing a vest. You ever seen a fish in a vest? It's the stuff of nightmares. I understand that this fear is irrational and probably one I don't share with anybody else, but it's there all the same. I think it stems back to my childhood. My Uncle Joe was a taxidermist and he specialized in fish. Well, his opus creation was a school of trout made up to look like a motorcycle gang. On the day he finished his masterpiece, I got locked in the shop and had to spend the night in close quarters with the whole gang. Needless to say, I didn't sleep a wink for the next 12 years of my life.
30 Seconds of Nonsense has been brought to you by the Thomas Turlington School of Taxidermy. Register today and you'll be stuffing animals by dinner. Now I want you to picture this scene in your head. Everyone around the world is going about their daily business when, out of nowhere, giant flying saucers appear over every major city around the globe. The people of the earth huddle around their television sets, glued to the news, anxiously waiting any updates on these mysterious hovering discs. Are they friendly? Are they a threat? What is the fate of the earth? Sounds a little bit like the big-budget Will Smith 1996 summer blockbuster Independence Day, doesn't it? Well, guess what? It's not Independence Day. It's the premise of V, the original TV miniseries, which aired in 1983 and brought audiences an early taste of sci-fi alien invasion themes that would echo in cinema and television for decades. This two-part miniseries captured the attention of millions of viewers and became a cultural phenomenon in its own right. So that's why today I'm taking a deep dive into V, a precursor to modern sci-fi spectacles and an unexpectedly poignant piece of social commentary, all wrapped up in, well, a whole lot of cheese.
Tonight is your chance to see how it all began, to relive the excitement that is V, the most extraordinary miniseries ever. A daring TV journalist struggling to uncover the startling truth behind the aliens' visit to Earth. And a beautiful and brave young scientist fighting for the very survival of the human race. Together, they take you on a fantastic journey to meet the Visitors. Prepare yourself for a television event that's out of this world. Prepare for V. Next.
V begins with a familiar but unsettling scenario. Alien ships appear in the sky above Earth's major cities, casting ominous shadows over familiar skylines. Unlike the blitz of destruction one might expect in an alien invasion story, the aliens, known as the Visitors, arrive under a banner of peace. They look human with their 70s hair and blue blocker sunglasses. They speak our language, and they claim to be in desperate need of our help. They say that their home planet is running out of a crucial resource, and that Earth's industries are uniquely suited to manufacture it. In return, they promise technological advancements and wisdom that could propel humanity into a golden era. Needless to say, people welcome them with open arms. I mean, why wouldn't they? Sounds like a good deal, right? Well, it doesn't take long for cracks in the Visitors' facade to show. The truth, as revealed by courageous journalist Mike Donovan, is far more sinister. Mike Donovan, by the way, is played by Mark Singer, otherwise known as the Beastmaster. Anyway, Donovan discovers that these aliens are actually reptilian creatures hiding behind human-like masks. They are not here to share knowledge or to make friends, but to strip the Earth of its water and enslave or consume its inhabitants. Their supposed benevolence is a cover for resource plundering and a full-scale invasion. What starts as a seemingly hopeful sci-fi exploration of first contact quickly pivots into a terrifying scenario with echoes of our darkest historical chapters.
At its core, V is more than a sci-fi action thriller. The series borrows heavily from World War II imagery and Nazi symbolism. The visitors' uniforms are a bold blood red adorned with a logo that bears a striking resemblance to the swastika, subtly cueing viewers to the parallel between the aliens and the Nazi regime. Their hierarchy, complete with a chilling leader, John, who oozes charm and menace, mimics the totalitarian structure of the Nazi Party. This isn't just a tale of extraterrestrial invasion. It's a layered warning against fascism and blind acceptance. One of the series' most unsettling aspects is the visitors' campaign against Earth's scientists. They systematically scapegoat the scientific community, claiming that they are the only ones capable of undermining the visitors' technology and exposing their true nature. Thus, scientists and their families are hunted, persecuted, and forced into hiding. Schools teach anti-scientist propaganda, and children are encouraged to report anyone who associates with them. A chilling reminder of the Hitler Youth programs that brainwashed young Germans. This anti-scientist crusade is absurd on the surface, lending itself to the campy feel of the series. Yet it's also remarkably prescient. V critiques how totalitarian regimes manipulate fear and misinformation to divide and control the populace. By exaggerating the threat posed by scientists, the visitors craft a common enemy that distracts humanity from the real danger hovering above them. Mark Singer's character, Mike Donovan, is the series' quintessential 80s action hero, embodying the rugged individualism and undaunted courage of a sci-fi protagonist. A cameraman and war correspondent, Donovan isn't a scientist or a soldier. He's just an ordinary man thrust into extraordinary circumstances. His discovery of the visitor's true form catalyzes the human resistance. Without him, Earth might have been subdued before any real opposition could form. As a reporter, Donovan represents the power of truth in the face of deception, showing that knowledge and courage can be more potent weapons than guns or lasers. His arc underscores the series' message that the real fight is not just against an alien species, but against the suppression of information and truth. The ragtag band of resistance fighters he joins is composed of diverse backgrounds and beliefs, emphasizing the strength that comes from unity. The message is clear. The thing that divides us must be put aside if we are to face a threat to our collective freedom. And then there's Juliet Parrish, played by Faye Grant, the scientist who becomes one of the primary leaders of the human resistance. Juliet is driven, resourceful, and compassionate, embodying the best qualities of her profession. Unlike Donovan, who's all about action, Juliet brings a sense of hope and optimism, reminding us that resilience is as much about caring for one another as it is about winning the fight. Together, Donovan and Juliet symbolize the balance of heart and intellect necessary to confront seemingly insurmountable challenges. Now, for a miniseries made in the early 80s, V pulled off some impressive visual effects, especially given the limitations of television budgets at the time. The visitor motherships, massive saucers hovering ominously over cities, are iconic. This imagery is reminiscent of similar scenes from Independence Day, suggesting that V paved the way for future alien invasion narratives. The motherships create an instant visual threat, looming silently, ever-present, yet still and serene until the action kicks in. The transformation sequences, in which we see glimpses of the aliens' true reptilian faces beneath their human disguises, are especially memorable. Seeing the visitors' faces peel off to reveal scales and slitted eyes was an effect that struck horror and fascination into audiences at the time. It's a bit cheesy by today's standards, but back then, those moments were pure nightmare fuel. The series also pioneered the use of practical effects for the visitor's diet. There's a particularly infamous scene involving a visitor devouring a live rodent, a moment so unsettling it burned itself into the minds of viewers and added a layer of visceral horror to these seemingly benevolent creatures. Despite its camp and occasional melodrama, V left a lasting impact on pop culture. It spawned a sequel, V: The Final Battle, as well as a short-lived TV series in 1984.
The concept was even revived in 2009, though the reboot never quite captured the gritty tension and cult appeal of the original. Still, V set the stage for television miniseries as a viable format for ambitious storytelling, blending science fiction with thought-provoking themes. Watching V today is like a trip back in time, not just to the 1980s, but to a period when television dared to tackle significant issues through storytelling. Yeah, it's cheesy, whether it's Mark Singer's over-the-top bravado, the hammy performances, or the undeniably 80s haircuts. But beneath the camp lies a story that's oddly timeless. As we look around the world today, V's themes of propaganda, persecution, and resistance resonate perhaps even more strongly than they did in 1983. It's like a cult classic that missed the classic part by just an inch. I mean, the themes are there. Resistance, loyalty, betrayal, power, it's all ripe for a gritty reboot. But in 1983, the cheese factor was dialed up to 11, and that's what makes it such a fun, guilty pleasure. You don't watch V for a nuanced take on totalitarianism or the perils of blind trust. You watch it for Mark Singer firing laser guns at giant lizards, and for aliens in red jumpsuits trying to act like they're just your average peace-loving neighbors. So do I recommend it? Well, if you've never seen V, go in with an open mind, a sense of humor, and maybe an edible or two. Embrace the cheese, enjoy the melodrama. And when those aliens come on screen in their blue blocker sunglasses and start brainwashing the youth into turning in their scientist parents, just lean in and enjoy the wild, nostalgic ride. Because there's a little piece of 1983 in there that's just so absurd, it's almost brilliant.
The View from Norman, Oklahoma, a weekly segment in which our resident freethinker, Norman, Oklahoma, gives up his opinion on, as he puts it, whatever topic he damn well pleases. And so, ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you, Norman, Oklahoma.
Thank you. I tell you what, I am happier than a fornicating flying fecal matter to be here with you today. And boy, do I have a doozy of a topic to discuss with y'all. This is something that's been stirring up the internet like a pair of pickled possums at a pumpkin patch. I'm, of course, talking about the delays in that most massive of Marvel crossover events, Civil War. Now, unless your head's been stuck up in elephant's tuchus for the last 2 weeks, you'd know that Marvel has pushed back Civil War number 4 and all related titles by a month or so. And I just have one thing to say about that, and that's this right here. Thank you.
That's it, is it?
You're damn right it is.
The guys that run the Comic Geek Speak podcast did a special 2-hour episode regarding the Civil War delay, and all you could say about it is...
Yep.
Could you at least fill us in on what means? I mean, are you upset over the delays? Do you care? You gotta give us something.
I ain't gotta give you nothing but an invite to kiss my sweet Fanny. I'm hitting the trail.
Okay then. Well, thanks, Norman. That's all we got time for.
I want to thank you for listening to Steeven Orr Else. This episode was written, performed, produced, engineered, and edited by me, Steeven Orr. Questions and comments can be directed to stevenorelse@gmail.com, or you can find me online at all the regular places by searching for @Steeven Orr Else. If you enjoyed the show, you can help to boost our presence online by leaving a rating or review on your favorite podcast app. I also invite you to join our subscription program, Steeven Orr Else Beyond. And in return, you'll get episodes of Steeven Orr Else along with every other show under the Steeven Orr Else media umbrella, early and ad-free. Check out the link in the show notes or just go to SteevenOrElse.com to join today. The Steeven Orr Else podcast is a presentation of Steeven Orr Else Media. For more nerdy content created by me, check out SoManyPodcasts.com. All links will be in the show notes.
I just don't think I can move through life knowing that a guy named Steeven did this to me.
How could you let this happen, Steeven?
Steeven! Thank God. I had a horrible feeling I was going to be the only one here.
Bigfoot stole my wife.
Bigfoot has a name.
I call him Steeven now.